Greetings, gamers. Welcome to Stop Killing Games. Stop Killing Games. This is probably not, well, for starters, that's a weird name, right? Because it's not a video game. It's a movement. This is activism, so buckle up. Short version. We're going to talk about a thing that's going on in the game industry real fast because it affects me, it affects you, it affects everybody who has crap to know about video games, and we have reached the fun period of time where if you don't try, they're just going to take it from you. So, I thought I'd put on some cool tunes and just have a quick chat with you guys, and there's an incentive for you to stick around. My game, I am going to show off CFC, and that's not a bluff. I should have had it up on the screen in case this time comes, but assuming I did this right. You've seen Godot before. You probably haven't, because who watches those videos? That was from Minecraft. But Shelter appeared in a couple episodes of Minecraft. Anyway, CFC is going to be in this. If it ever boots. It's going to be a lot of noise. It's going to be confusing. Are you taking so? Because I'm recording? Because I never did it when I was recording? Yeah, I did. I did it when I was recording 100 times. Alright, anyway, there it is. There's the big, I've been working on this thing. Oh. Version number's out of date. I'm recording this in July, but whatever. You guys will get the July build, I hope, unless something goes really bad. Point being, we're gonna just, quiet you. Ugh. I guess if I have a piece of advice, don't become a programmer, but also, maybe you should become a programmer. I don't know. We're gonna, oh god. We're gonna jump in here, because it will play itself, and we'll just let it do its thing. We'll put this up on the screen. But, we'll get back to this. The point is, I wanted to talk to you guys about a thing, right? A thing that's actually happening in the world. It's called Stop Killing Games. I kind of fell down this rabbit hole today. It's finally reached my side of the internet, of YouTube, etc. And it's about game development. Long story short, are you pissed at any games in recent history for being shut down? They were like, this is going to be a complete game, and you're going to love it, and then you paid like $80, and then it just disappeared one day. Anyway, so are a lot of people. So then created this movement. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a lot. There's a lot. It goes back with killing, dead games. But more to the point, the legality of it, right? Video games are big crap money-wise now. And a lot of people are incentivized entirely by the money. And as a result, we finally have reached the point where we need legal regulation to keep these companies from just running roughshod over us. Now, the short version is that, Ubisoft, I think, with The Crew, if you've heard of the game The Crew, started the opening salvos, or at least the first thing that anybody could really latch on to when they said, quite frankly, you don't know your game. Now, we all knew we owned a license for the game, and that had nebulous meaning, whatever, for years now, decades. But they were the first ones to just be like, nah, man, you own a license, and we will just take the game can just go, and your privileges to play with it can go with it. And now we're actually through the looking glass on that, you can see games like Concord that, died in, 2 weeks. There was a game that famously died in 8 days. At the same time, you have subscription model games that have survived for 20 years, like World of Warcraft, and so forth and so on. The issue is, the reason things have gotten so wild, the reason the companies can just do whatever, is because there is no regulation. And the companies themselves, the developers, the publishers, they have no incentive to fix that. It is tragic, really, but money talks. So, if they're making the money, why, oh why, would they adjust it? And us as consumers really can't do anything except say, we won't play along, right? We won't buy, we won't pay. And that's unfortunately pretty terrible, bargaining chip, the issue is not that we don't want to play the game, the issue is actually that we do want to play the game, but if at any point they can yank the game from us, they can pull the plug, they can do this, that's bad for everybody involved. Them, for their reputation, us for a thing we were enjoying and probably spent money and time and whatever that we're never getting back. And the most important part is that the issue is not so much that games die, or that they need to die, or that they can die, because certainly no one is advocating for developers to be beholden to their games forever. Take it from me and the stupid thing you got on the screen. Why aren't you doing stuff? Oh, you weren't doing stuff. Anyway, it's supposed to be doing stuff. You know, the CFC is going to be done. It's going to be done someday. It's not going to be anytime soon. I recognize I still have some major things to do, but the point is, like, yeah, I'm going to be done and I'm going to walk away, at which point, you know, fate may happen. Now, CFC is a very basic game, and made in Godot, and whatever engine, it's going to live on essentially forever as long as Windows executable, like, the kernel operates. But anytime they build these games with online components, with, like, I mean, it's basically online components, but now it's like security. You know, they don't necessarily call that an online restriction, but it's supposedly part of the game design that we had to put security in it to keep you from ripping us off or making sure that the microtransactions work or whatever. The point is, yeah, it's in a ton of games, and there's no regulation, so companies can just be like, well, we made up the rules and you signed for it, you know, hashtag Apple. So what this movement aims to do is corral some of that, okay? Now, you might be saying to yourself, how? Okay, you can't really tell the companies, you know, you can't go to Ubisoft and say, hey, fix your EULA, or else, because there is no else. They'll just be like, okay, well, y'all still bought all them copies of Star Wars Outlaws, like you still did. That's the problem. So, core issue. Oh, look at that. It's making noise. I don't know why it's running so bad. It always runs badly when I need it to run well. You know what I think it is? No, because I just did. No, I'm running the music, and it's recording, and it's full screen. Let's see if that helps. I've never run it full screen. That could be a thing. Oh, because it's my turn? But I shouldn't have it. It's fine. I'll figure it out later. I'm going to play it later. Don't worry. You'll get to see. Anyway. So what Stop Killing Games is aiming to do is kind of corral that, right? They're going to force the games industry to maybe not develop a standard, maybe not even fix anything, you know what I mean? Like, but just look at it, right? Here's where it gets tricky. Now, I didn't know what Stop Killing Games was until basically today. I think I had heard it here and there, but as a somewhat activist, and by that I mean I pay attention to activist channels, you hear about a lot of movements, a lot of hashtags, a lot of things that are like, this is affecting everything, you gotta get involved. Anyway, especially in the gaming space, because every single gaming influencer, like, the cross they're bearing is the most important cross in the world. No one has ever cared about a thing as much as someone cares about this thing. And yeah, it might be super important to them, but, you know, it might be very minuscule. And so anyway, this is big, right? Because this is the problem. This is the modern problem with online game. Like, it affects everything, because we've reached the point now with online integration sneaking into single-player games. Like, everything has online hooks, right? And nothing online is finite or infinite. Nothing. Even World of Warcraft, even Minecraft, you know, the biggest games ever, are someday gonna go off, some way or another. And the question is, can people still play it? You know, like, you can still turn on a Pac-Man machine if you get all the batteries and everything right. You can still turn on a Contra cartridge if everything inside it works. You know, like, Nintendo sold you that thing, and you can theoretically make it work by way of technology or whatever. Trust me, there are modders and insane people out there who work tirelessly to make people work, which is kind of why CFC is involved, and I'm sorry it's not running, but that's game development for you. Anyway, I hate it so much. The dry runs, guys. I did so many dry runs. I don't know why. It's just like sitting on my right. It says Taka's draw, but it's not doing nothing. Oh, it's doing it. It's just going really slow. Wow. Okay, fine. Anyways. So, you can't sue them. You can't just sue Ubisoft, EA, Microsoft. You can't just be like, hey, I bought a thing and I feel screwed, because they're going to be like, number one, end user license agreement, you already signed, which, yeah, we all did. Like, the second you play the game, most of them say just by hitting the first OK button, you agree to the terms, and you're going to agree to the terms because you want to play Gears of War, you want to play whatever. Anyway, so they got us, right? The only other party who can help us is the government. And you hate the government. Boy, I hate the government. But the government's the only body who can help you in this situation. Otherwise, it's just you versus the companies. And guess who's going to win? The companies are always going to win that battle because they got a thing you want. Either you go without, stop playing video games that you like, or, like, let's say we successfully boycott them and kill them, then we lose all those video games. It's a lose-lose situation unless we establish some regulations, some rules, whatever, get us all on the same page. Certainly gamers will go the extra mile for game preservation. That's what this whole CFC situation is about. This game that I'm recreating, was put on old hardware. Like, that was doomed from the start. The Neo Geo Pocket was never going to eclipse any variant of the Game Boy. It was never going to, it was just a passion project by somebody at SNK, and they thought they could make some money on a thing. Anyway, I don't know if it was possible or not, like profitable or not, but it definitely made a profound impression on some people, myself included. And this particular game, to my knowledge, has not been emulated anywhere else. Maybe not emulated is the wrong word. Simulated, reborn, rebuilt, whatever. You know, like the actual Card Clash game, there were fan translations. People have made real life card games out of it. And certainly there's, you know, communities of people who are aware of the game's existence. The art style, the cards, you know, all that is everywhere all over the internet. Everyone knows there was this weird card game once upon a time, but playing it is locked behind some pretty convoluted means, which is why I got involved, why I started remaking the darn thing like 20 years ago, when at first I was just like, well, no one's ever going to port it to Game Boy, so I might as well put it on. I think at that point I wanted to do it on the web. Anyway, I've spent now 20 years of my life, slowly but surely, trying to make this game a reality again. And every couple of minutes I've thought to myself, ooh, what if SNK does it again? What if Capcom does it? Like, what if someone else picks it up? I mean, well, no, I say honestly, I would have hated it, you know, because I hate the release that was made. And this is no slight against anyone who was involved. Shoutouts to you for doing it, for getting involved, because, again, the world needs this game. I think so. But they re-released the original, which is the one that's, by comparison, the easiest to acquire and find of all of them, domestically being the States. And they released it for the Switch, which is like, great, a bunch of eyes on it, but like the Switch is inundated with this exact thing. Who cares? Anyway, that's the reception, has been, who cares? It's been like, hey, you remember this card game from 2001? No. Do you want to try it? No. Anyway, I'm a nut job, so I'm going to finish a re-release of CFC 2 as CFC, and we're just going to see what happens, because again, when it gets in your brain, you can't get loose. So, the problem we're facing here with the Stop Killing Games thing is that if I was to put even DRM, you know, which I'm not going to do because that's ridiculous, but if there was any online stuff, you know, like I licensed something, I put whatever, there's stuff that can't be redistributed, whatever, like if a storefront takes it down, whatever, and it could just be gone forever. It's just like, all right, well, peace out. And that's what's happened to a bunch of games. So, in the US, they have us quite comfortably by the balls, okay? The developers wrote the publishers wrote the rules, and the consumers fell right into the trap. No one has ever stopped, even for a second in the West, to say, hey, are we being screwed? Because all they have to do is tell us, no, you're not being screwed, and people are like, oh, okay, cool, and they just keep on doing it. In other countries, namely Europe, you know, it's hard for me to be like, yeah, the politicians work, but they do have a few, let's call it politically motivated organizations, entities, you know, like just the way their politics runs. For a lot of them, it's actually better for them to do things for the consumers, if only because shame is actually a thing over there. So, a lot of the things that have recently happened in Western game development that have been good have come from litigation or government restrictions that have been enforced on places to the east of us in Europe, or even further east in Japan, China, etc., Asia, I guess. And, you know, they have by extension been trickled back to America, because these same companies, you know, like the state, they start complying in Europe, they have to comply in the States. It's way harder for them to be like, here's the Europe SKU that we've made one way, and here's the American SKU that we've made another way. that made sense back in the day when you know, like there were so many restrictions between the countries. It was so hard to cross the barrier, but you still wanted that money. Now it's just like, no, man, you just make a game that runs on all platforms and like do it anyway. You can't do that if Europe passes a bunch of legislation, restrictions, or is even just in talks. You know, like even if the UK, whatever that, you know, I shouldn't conflate EU and the UK because of course Brexit happened. But the point is, if there's a legal precedent happening over there, to any degree, all these companies have to actually look at it and consider it when they do their thing, which isn't going to save any current games. You know, like there's tons of games that are out right now that people are concerned, you know, we'll dig into that part second. But the point is, nothing gets saved now. Like all the games that we're playing right now that have online components that someday are like beloved, like developers, publishers, whatever, could just be like, nope, that's not a game anymore. See what Microsoft just did about 15 minutes ago. That's all cast. Those dies are cast. The whole point of this movement is to essentially start a conversation, because that's, I guess, how the government litigation process begins over there, is that essentially they file a gigantic petition that forces the government to talk about it. Now, I don't fully understand it because I have a pretty good understanding of the U.S. legal system, and certainly that extends up into some government, you know, like, but like European government and things like that, pretty far out of my depth. I mean, I understand the basics, but the actual like nuances of like the parties and like the motivations and like what it even means and how it affects the people, I don't know. I have a vague understanding of Brexit because I was over there at the time it was happening, so some of the people I talked to were like, yeah, Brexit this, Brexit that, but even that, I never felt like, and I got a good understanding of it, so I should talk to some people about it when I get home. It was just like, yeah, man, there's this wild thing called Brexit going on, and I don't know if it's going to be great. Anyway, turns out it wasn't, but that's government for you. Point is, even Brexit would have had to have started, I suppose, by one of these sort of petition things, which is basically you get 1 million signatures, literally 1 million, presented to whoever, and then that's it. That kicks off the process of they got to talk about it, right? And this is all, I think, kicked off because, as I mentioned at the drop, Ubisoft screwed the Crew. Now, the Crew is, I never played it, I don't play it, it's not my kind of game, I don't think. Or it may have just came out when I had no PC and, you know, like came out for a platform I didn't have. I don't know, my gaming journey has been turbulent. The point is, the Crew was out for 10 years before they sunset it. And most people largely believe the sunset happened for monetary reasons, like they realized they could kill it in order to drive players to the sequel that was on its way, or the expansion or whatever, because obviously, you know, Steam numbers, player numbers, the internet, people were still playing the first game, and greedy publishers are like, well, if all we gotta do is turn off the first game and people will play the sequel. That's how gamers work. They're dumb. Anyway, they're dumb. They got pissed. And not only, I think, did they tear apart the second and whatever game, forcing Ubisoft to make a bunch of, like, turnarounds on that, but ultimately it spawned this movement, which is like, okay, you've now been taken to court, which means we can start a discussion. Now again, none of this is possible in America. I cannot stress that in the United States, this entire process is absolutely not a thing, both because we don't have anyone working on it, and more to the point, because our laws are so, like, embarrassingly written, maybe not even written, just enforced, that the corporations could just be like, nah, we good. Or like, yeah, we could take it to trial and they would bury you financially. The way the European stuff works, again, based on my understanding, and I don't have it all, I've just watched a ton of videos today, is that again, they present this information, it forces the government to talk about it. Now, maybe the government just, you know, makes a wanking motion and like gets on with life, but the suspicion, the theory, the logic, the plan is that no, much like previous victories in this arena, which are like, now Steam offers refunds, okay, that's the same thing. Somebody thought it was horse crap that you can buy a game, like, and you can be ripped off, like horribly, horribly ripped off on Steam. Terrible game to a tune of however much money, and then that's it, no recourse. Someone did this petition thing, put it before, you know, whatever European legal board, government board. They talked it out and said, yeah, you companies have to do something about it. And sure enough, Now Steam and every storefront really has to have refunds because, again, that would be a whole kettle of fish to try and just do that in Europe, in Australia, in places where these sort of laws would be enforced, and then in America just be like, and it's the Wild West. Not only do the Americans notice and realize they're being screwed, but more to the point, like, that's hard from a technical standpoint. Anyway, we have them in a pretty similar headlock on this issue. The only point is just we have to cross the hurdle of actually getting it to happen, okay? It doesn't happen without a ton of signatures. The number is 1 million. Now, here's where things get interesting, right? I think I didn't... Well, let me go ahead and put this down. This video here, kind of the linchpin of the situation. It's called The End of Stop Killing Games, which is an unfortunate name, but it worked. He was distraught. Now, this gentleman here is Ross. Russ? I hate that I messed up his name. Ross. His name is Ross. He's just a gamer, YouTuber, influencer, but one of the things he fell on that became popular on his channel was this kind of digest of, like, here's games that died this week, right? Which is such a morbid thing to think about from a developer standpoint. But, yeah, I bet it was compelling to watch that every week, you know, like, this game got turned off, this game got turned off, this game got turned off, and, like, and that was it. The developers can't say boo about it. The people who play it can't say boo about it. And the publisher just, if there's a financial windfall, they're just like, what financial win? What do you mean money? We haven't heard anything about it. It was just hardship, so we had to turn the game off. Anyway, based on this crew stuff, and I guess some other things, you know, because there apparently were some other mini movements that have, like, swelled. He has now become kind of the figurehead of the Stop Killing Games movement, which is essentially just trying to get these signatures, just trying to get this thing in front of whoever. Now, you can go to the website, stopkillinggames.com, to read all about it. More importantly, you can go to my man's channel. He's Accursed Farms? Accursed Farms. Seems pretty cool. I'm not sure about the rest of his content because I've really only been diving into this Stop Killing Games stuff, and, like, again, there's like a day's worth of understanding on me. Jacksepticeye posted a video about it on his channel because essentially in this End of Stop Killing Games video, this Russ guy, like, he was distraught. He was burned out. He's like, listen, we're not going to make it. It's not going to happen. And this was not engagement farming. This was, you know, it was definitely some sincerity behind this because at the time, they were only around 500, and they had been doing it for months. In fact, there was only 1 month left. The end of July is it. So the point is, if you can sign this thing, I can't. I'm in the States. I'm not a European citizen. I don't even understand the process, because apparently there's a website and some IDs and stuff. Because it's government business, okay? That's why you shouldn't screw around. People have screwed around, and they are probably going to face, like, legal and, like, maybe not prison, but, like, you know, you can wind up on a list, they can watch you, and in Trump's America, some crap can happen if you have a record. The point is, you could just, like, that's for signing up for a thing that's happening in Europe. But the point is, if you are in Europe, if you're in somewhere who can sign up for this thing, if you know how to sign up for this thing, if you have any interest in video games at all, do it, please. This is not about a particular game or fighting one particular fight. This is about putting a discussion on the table for the future of video games, because what happens is they talk about it, and if they talk good about it, developers, maybe not even developers, publishers have to do something. Again, we don't know what that is, because the point of this is to create a discussion, but they have to do something, and if the something they do is very little, at least then we understand, like, this is what they'll do. Because right now, the rule, like, it's an open-ended rule. They can just do whatever. The situation with the crew is just someone woke up with the brilliant idea to do it. It wasn't like, you know, fated when they developed it 10 years prior that 10 years from then we would run out of ability to run the game. In fact, there's a lot of theory, substance, etc. on the internet from people who say, no, we've looked into your game, we ripped it apart, and you could have made it single player, you chose not to. Which, again, that's a whole kettle of fish that, like, the arrogance of publishers to think that not only gamers, but developers themselves won't expose the internals of the game as it comes down the wire is horse crap. But again, that's a whole culture clash that's not part of this discussion. The point of this discussion is to actually get signatures on a petition in Europe to actually make something happen. Now, if we win, again, think about the refund thing. Think about how clutch refunds are. as a concept. And yes, they have been used negatively. They have been used improperly, as all things will. But versus not having them at all, versus just accidentally spending $50 on something and playing it for an hour and 30 minutes, a frustrating hour and 30 minutes wherein it never works or doesn't even run properly, and that's just it. Like 2 to 8 days later, the developer's like, oops, sorry, we released a broken game. A patch is coming, we swear. And it's not. So, same story with this. The hope is we get a discussion, we get a talk, and what happens is in the future, developers have to put a plan together. Now, the information that's on the website, pretty succinct on what they want, because I guess as a part of putting together this proposal, you have to put in some framework of what you actually want to happen, and that's how the discussion happens between the parties in the European cloud of government. The point is, you can read through all their wants, and one of the issues they've had, one of the reasons they were dying, is because it has been misconstrued endlessly. As I mentioned at the start of the video, even me, it was just like another one of many hashtags. I did not know this was about something big, but this is actually about something big, and most of that's because it's just this Rust guy working his butt off to try and get I don't even think he's in Europe. I think he's just kind of the figurehead, not figurehead, I think he just spearheaded it. You know, I think he was just, someone was like, well, we would have to do this, and he was like, all right, let's do it. Anyway, months in, because they only had so long to do it, you know, you can't just like open this up and do it forever. He was getting clobbered from all, and he had a month left, so he put up this video that was like, listen, it's not going to happen. He had his reasons, he had his motivations. I don't want to delve into it too big, because a lot of that is clickbaity. Like, there's a big, deep discussion going on between some of the detractors, like a big detractor of this, and Russ himself, and the issue, maybe not even the issue, but it certainly brought a lot of exposure to the topic. A lot of people have said that that's maybe the reason they are succeeding now, but that's just kind of the way the current, you know, like the way the books are going to be written, is that this guy posted this video saying basically, we're done, and here's why. And people were like, oh, word? That ain't right. And now, not only are we like dogpiling on some people for like, you know, like they take our jam, but like also the end result is that this is coming together pretty nicely. They are, as I understand it, over 1 million as of today. He posted another update, which is this one. Big update on Stop Killing Games. Again, this guy is pretty scattershot, and you can tell this is not his depth, you know, like this is just a thing he got wrapped up in doing. But point being, they're over 1 million, which I guess is their threshold. I guess they made both of their thresholds because there are 2 concurrent petitions going on, one in the UK, one in the EU, and again, Brexit. They've crossed both thresholds, but, and here's, you know, kind of why this guy is definitely like the hero we got, you know, and not the hero we need. No, I should say the hero we need and not the hero we just, like, he's never done anything like this. So he just now discovered fraud, you know, like the idea that these million signatures, a number of them are going to be bad. Now, I mean, it's a naivety thing. It's just, he didn't know, you know, like he had no idea. He thought collect signatures, win. And every step of the way, I'm sure, has been a battle like this for him, including this particular battle of like, I'm throwing my hands up, man, I can't win. Somehow, like, energizing his movement, like bringing it back from life support. So my whole stake in this is, listen, I'm a game developer. I'm developing a game right now. It is a remake of a super old game that effectively no one will ever play again if I don't do this. Now, that's not entirely true, because certainly there are ways to play it, but wouldn't it be nice if someone had just ported it to something? Like, or if, you know, and this is like revision, like go back in time and like sit in the meeting with SNK and say you should do this on your dying portable. But like, wouldn't it be dope if in death the game could have been passed on to something else? Someone had thought to dump all the code from the Neo Geo Pocket and we could just have one-to-one conversions of all this on whatever hardware SNK is making their games on now. I mean, SNK is doing well now. If they just had that library of code of games, sitting around. And that's the point of this legislation. The legislation could say, listen, when you greenlight a game and you say we're going to put a bunch of crap in it that could explode in 6 months, in 9 months, or you might just decide to turn it off in 2 weeks, hook the customers up with something. Either say, listen, it's 2 weeks, dog, or put something in the game that it can live after 2 weeks. Again, a lunatic like me will rise from the ashes and recode your entire game with none of the original resources, if that's what it takes. But if you have coded your game in such a way that it just goes kaput and no one can ever then boom, nothing. Anyway, I think I've pretty much covered it. I think I've pretty much covered the other topic. The only other thing I really wanted to address on this is just that, no, I think that's it. I think that's it. It really, like, it was there weren't enough people talking about it. Maybe I shouldn't say that. There weren't enough people talking about it and not talking about the drama, for my opinion. Now, I recognize those videos are definitely out there, but for me, when I was trying to get intel on this, there's also the domestic barrier, right? Because this is happening in the EU and I'm in the States. I understand that, but you know, as a YouTuber, as a game developer, as a game player, just an old guy who thinks about video games a lot, this is the kind of thing I would think would pop up on my feed. And the fact that I only saw it like once or twice in a Kotaku article, like summary or something, probably months ago, and now like this is the last month, this is the final push, like that's pretty sad. But that's the way things are going right now. So I said, listen, we're gonna spend a night talking about this just so I get it on the books. That being said, shout outs to you for listening. I very much appreciate you entertaining me going on a little bit of rant. If you are at all possible, please sign the petition. Not petition, sign. That's the thing. It's not just a petition, right? This isn't just like some Mormons come to your house and say, hey, sign up for our Lord, whatever. Nope, this is an actual government thing. So effectively, yeah, when you sign this, you are signing some crap over to your government. But as has probably been, like you've done it before. They already know. Whatever they do over there with taxes, with security, with like jobs, they already know. So all you're really doing is it's essentially like registering to vote, which, I mean, you should register to vote. It's not a very complicated concept, but if someone believes it's a complicated concept, they're not going to do it. Just do it. Just sign the thing. Let's get a conversation started, and let's maybe save some games down the line from dying 2 days after they're launched and no one can ever play it again. That's my piece. Now, let's talk about something fun. Let's talk about CFC. I'm not actually going to do... Well, I am going to play it. I think... Okay, we still got Ross up on the screen. I have discussed at length, and again, stopkillinggames.com. Stopkillinggames.com. The petitions are up here. Some of the stuff. There's a big old fact full of questions. Russ has tons of videos. They're very good videos. I mean, he's not, again, this is not his wheelhouse, but he's doing it, and he's doing a fine job for someone who's got no idea what he's doing. So, shout outs to Russ. And if he wins, if he accomplishes something, he'll have my thanks for at least as long as I continue gaming. But, let me shut that up. Can cut that off. Okay. So, again, sad story, right? Game preservation, blah, blah, blah. I gave you the impetus. Here's the thing I'm working on. Here's the actual game I've been working on. And, boy, oh boy, I have been... And this is the most game I've ever done. This game, you know, to say nothing of like game-wise, I mean, I'm making someone else's game, so I don't have any bones about like, thank goodness. Also, most of the, maybe not the track was laid, but like the path was already cleared out of the way. It was just like you just got to put some new tracks in, man, and get the trains running. Very cognizant of that. Not going to sit here and say that I invented Card Clash or whatever, but. You know, having the template for how the game plays and obviously all the card data and everything strewn out in like GameFAQ. Shout out to GameFAQ. Shout out to Fact Writers. Shout out to KO Megara. Rest in peace, KO. Um, it tremendous help. Oh my God, we're over 30 minutes. That's crazy. I was not expecting this to be a long one, but whatever. Here we go. Point is, one of the things I wanted to do was, well, I was afraid. I was afraid of getting. So the reason I'm saying this is because this is and it should have been playing a lot more, but it was going slow because I don't know why, because it hates me, I suppose. But this is the most game I've ever gamed before. Oh, that's cool. You can't start a new game. This is the most game I've ever gamed before. It has new game support. It has save game support, save and load support. These are the cards, right? And let's make it so you can hear it, because I bet I didn't do that. Okay, I did it in one place. Yeah, I know. My mouse is terrible. One of the things they don't tell you about putting music in your game is that you eventually learn to hate it. It's very fast.
Hey, come on.
There we go. All right, it's all making noise. You begin to hate it very fast, no matter how good the music is, no matter how much you love the song. During the game development process, you learn to hate it because it is going to be there when you fail, or when something's not working, or when you're just like not in the mood for that particular song. It will be there. So I usually just turn it down. Anyway, this is my facsimile of the collection engine. These are all the cards that this particular one has. I am real sketch on the UI stuff. You know? The voices, I'm working on it. A lot of it has been like, what can I get my hands on versus what do I have versus like what decisions do I want. Like, for instance, like Vice, what voice file do I work? I did not want to just use the default like intro or like outro lines from like whatever game because number one, I couldn't get them all. They're not all easy to find. Number two, some of them are really long and annoying. Like you might really like that crazy thing Iori said, but he said it for such a long time. Do you want to hear it every single time his card gets played? What if there's 6 cards of him on the table? Like, are you just constantly hearing the soundbite? This is a balancing act that I have had to play since the start, which is why the game did not get sound effects until very late, because I knew it would drive me crazy. But we're slowly but surely getting there. We're slowly putting them in, and it's going pretty well so far. Shoutouts to the people at Sound Resources, soundsresource.com, spriteresource.com, the Kenny Asset Pack, really everybody at just like itch in general. My other game, Guests of Shelter, is already on itch. The link better be in the description of this video down below. But more importantly, I'm going to put the Stop Killing Game stuff down there too. I'll put a link to my man's website and maybe to that video. This matters enough that I might do it. Sam, don't leave it on a typo. I'm so sorry, they're all typos. Leave one without a typo. Anyway, like I love this song so this it hurts to like not like some of these songs. Anyway, what are we doing? What is our goal? So here's what's happening right now, right? I'm finishing the cards. Well, I'm not quite finishing the cards. I'm finishing the game. Early on in the development process, and I'm just waxing now, so whatever. Part of the reason I'm doing this is so that I can... Okay, Boulevard Streets is unlocked. Oh, there he is. There's the man. Part of the reason I'm doing this was because I wanted some footage for a trailer, right? The fear was real. The fear is still very real about losing this game. When you fixate on something for 20 years, maybe, like, baby is a strong word for someone who has had a couple babies, but, you get real protective of it, and the thought of losing it can be crippling a lot in terms of, like, working on it. And by that, I mean, not only can something bad happen in development and, like, just disable, like, this slowdown thing literally hurts me, because as a developer, it's like, man... You ain't supposed to be doing that, whereas you, as a watcher or whatever, are just like, haha, game do fun thing. What a world. Anyway, for me, it's very agonizing because I've worked very hard to keep it from doing this, and it now has decided to do this in front of my friends and family. That's dumb baby stuff. The point is, I was worried that the second I showed it, right, someone was going to not dox me, and I hope I haven't doxed myself, but with any of the screen sharing, but I think I dry runned it okay. I was worried that I was going to get a C&D, get a cease and desist, right? Because I have studied this long enough, and there are some companies, some of whom are slightly involved in this project, who could just be like, hey, listen, not only are you not getting, like, for starters, I'm not getting paid. Like, this, no money, right? And you don't pay me for it. If you want to support me, there's a link to my Ko-Fi down below. I have a Patreon. I don't know, Logan yells at me so much. I got Cash App, I got Venmo, like, hand a brother $1, right? Like, you can hook me up if you want to support me, and I would very much appreciate that, because things are dire. But this particular game here, I'm not trying to, like, I'm not going to sell it. Like, that's dumb. For starters, I don't think I could. I'm sure the first thing that would happen is that I'd get sued. But secondarily, that's not what I'm not doing this. I'm doing this because I very much want to continue playing this game, even though it's 2024 and it's moving so slow. I was so proud of it earlier. Anyway, so no money exchanging hands from this project. So as a result, there just can't be. I'm just so mad about the slowdown. This is the worst thing about being a developer. But to that, you know, like, it's just a celebration of a cool game that happened once that I wanted to have it back out. And I have seen projects like this that were all love, that never intended to make $1, that were destroyed. They were legally or, you know, like, internetly, because the internet just, you know, shame you, cancel you, whatever, like, just destroyed. And it was like, y'all can't kill my CFC, brother, you can't. But, that's like, well, for starters, I was working in a vacuum back then because I hadn't really found anybody who still had interest in CFC, Card Fighters Clash. I have since found individuals who actually kind of enjoy this, like, the principle. So at least I have, like, maybe not a community, that's a strong word for it, but I have some people I associate with. Actually, no, let's call it a community. It's on a Discord, and I'm not going to fire up Discord in case there's a bunch of other stuff on the screen, but it's a small community of like-minded individuals who play, or at least have interest in Card Fighters Clash. And I discovered them, you know, they obviously got hitched onto it via the some of the fan translations, because part of this is because the second game was never translated to English by the host company like SNK. The first one was, and the third one, the DS one, they made it to the States, for better or for worse. But the second one never happened, which means, like, the actual descriptions of those cards, people's understanding of the cards and their abilities, the artwork that's on the cards, so much stuff that only existed in the second game, just lost. So, someone did a fan translation, some other people have done actual hard copy versions of the card game so that you can, like, print out the cards or, like, buy a set of cards on, like, Etsy or Pinterest or whatever, and play it on your own or just have your own. But I, being a game dev, wanted to do a game. Anyway, I stumbled upon these individuals, and that was when I was like, okay, I can't just keep it to myself. Number one, if I let the word out, right, and I get C&D'd, then I'm the guy who got C&D'd for remaking Card Fighters Clash. And, like, that's horrifying, but that would be good for everything else I do. That sounds bad, right? But at the same time, I'm very cognizant of how algorithms and, like, social media influence and whatever work. So I'm not going to sit here and be naive about the fact that I have other things I want to do that are technically bigger than CFC. And I could do with a lot of momentum from being the guy who got his passion project canceled by insert company X. I don't want to be, but it could work. Secondarily, have I skipped this turn yet? Yeah, it's technically clashing. Like, see, I did everything. It's just moving really slow. It doesn't normally move like this. So, that's what I'm doing, right? The question was how. Number one, the game will be out soon. The alpha version of the game, which will be the first release, and I'm hoping it'll be sometime in June. June. Let's call it this. The alpha version will release sometime in July. Maybe not until the very last day of July. Like, my birthday is July 30th, so it's possible July 30th might just be the day for simplicity's sake, but if I'm feeling real confident about it, I'll be done with it. I'll release it whenever it's done, because frankly, I don't want to hold on to it any longer than I have to. Point is, the alpha version is not going to have online play, and it's not going to have all the cards in it. All the cards are in it, but they're not all going to work. If you do, depending on what you do or don't know about Card Fighters Clash, a lot of the appeal is that a ton of these characters, the cards, are based on characters that existed in very obscure spaces. Either their games were not interesting, or like their games weren't big enough. So you maybe played this crazy game on the Neo Geo, or like some weird old Capcom game. That character is in here for some reason. They made a card. It's the crappiest card in the game, but they're in here, and for whatever reason, they maybe even gave him a weird ability, like relative to... Anyway, that sort of stuff fascinates me. As a lore hunter, I was like... The fact that Cade and Awakened Cade are two different cards in the game, like, in my brain, that is gigantic. So, one of the things I did... that was like one of the primary motivators to get it redone, was like so people could understand, no, Hanfu's ability when he, does this is actually a reference to XYZ from so-and-so, and people are like, who the F is Hanfu? And it's like, right, that's the point. He's a crappy C-rank card, but he's a good one. I think he's a D-rank. Oh. Anyway, the game the alpha version, right? Let's call it my birthday edition. No, that's a dumb name. Alpha edition. I'm just trying to get to the game. What I'm working on right now, like literally what I'm working on right now, we've got saving, we've got card collecting, we've got tons of the abilities, we've got all the artwork is in, cropped to the cards. The cards themselves need a little work. There's still some UI stuff to be done here and there, but the goal is to get through the game, because one of the things that happened when I encountered this community of individuals was they, excuse me. Is it my turn? No, it's their turn. They talked about the RPG mode. I never cared about the RPG mode. That was the most milquetoast, uninteresting part of the original Card Fighters Clash package for me. But that's probably because I played so many actual good CCG RPGs, or even just Gs, like Pokemon, etc., that were just like games about collecting mass quantities of this or that or those things. The one in Card Fighters Clash was so basic. Anyway, people were like, well, I mean, the fact that they didn't have it really kind of took the wind out of my sails. Like, that was a lot of what I was looking forward to playing. And the new one, this is a complaint about the DS version, that's technically the third one in the series, which followed the one I'm remaking. It famously trimmed a lot of the gameplay of this game out. In fact, reshaped it in total to something kind of similar to Magic the Gathering, but I think the goal was just to make it more palatable, something that would fit within the lexicon of like popular card games better, and say, hey, here's this other game that plays kind of like every other card game. It's just got like Ryu and that dude from Metal Slug in it. It didn't work. For starters, it didn't make the game more interesting, but more to the point, like, they broke the game. They released a crappy broken game, so it was a bad time for everybody. And they, so that was why I've always been like, we gotta bring 2 back somehow. 2, who cares about DS? We gotta bring back 2. Anyway, I brought them both back. They both in here, but we can get into that later. Point is, all the cards, they're already in the game. The master index of cards. Well, you saw it on the screen. It's like over 600, and that is all the cards from CFC 2. Expanded Edition is its formal name. Card Fighters Clash Expanded Edition. And CFC DS. Card Fighters Clash DS. There's also a couple other ones in there for my own personal vanity. If only because, I'm not the only person who loves this thing. And some of those people have left some profound impressions on me. So there were a lot of cards I wanted to see, And when I was coming up with the original list of cards, it was a decision, I have big plans. I would love to do a card maker. Make your own cards, put whoever you want on it, even put your own graphics on there. That's like a super stretch goal. That's like whatever the 4th iteration of this release structure is, and because the first 3 stages have already been planned. Anyway, all the cards will be in. The point I'm getting to is that you need to be able to get them. I don't want anybody to play the game and be like, you know, I'm stuck at 624 cards out of 645 cards. Like, I don't want to see that post anywhere, even for the alpha version of the game. So, the alpha version of the game will be when I, to the best of my ability, have made it so that you can get all the cards I programmed in the game, even if they don't work. Number 2 is going to be the beta. Don't have a date on it. Don't even have a planned date on it, because after the alpha, I am taking a break from this. Not a long break, well, we'll see. If it's big, if people want it fast, I'll go right back to it. I'll chew on a dog. But I suspect this will happen like everything else I've ever done, and it will have a pretty cool reaction, at which point I will go back to Fightabase. Shoutouts to www.fightabase.com. That's my personal website. I've been working on it for about 15 years now, 20 years now. It's all about fighting game crap. Every fighting game. You've been to a website that said they cover every fighting game. They don't. I do. It has had some troubles. Because the admin is me. But that's also the consequence of me being just a dude who writes code in his free time. If I was big, if I had money, if I had time, who knows how dope Fightabase could be. Much like CFC, I've had 20 years of thinking about this, and this is going to be sweet, man. I don't know what the impression is, with it running the way it is, but, this thing is going to be sweet. I assure you, this thing is going to be sweet. As far as packages go, I've gone long, a lot of mental discussion about making it freemium, maybe making it like a mobile type game, put dumb mobile game type stuff in there. I axed it all. Like the RPG mode. I jumped around, sorry. I should have wrote a script. So it has an RPG mode, is the point. The people on the Discord, if you want a major shout out, and I can't remember which one of you it was, but your discussion about the lack of RPG mode in the third one inspired me to not only put one in, but to write one. So the reason it's not done is because just getting the cards isn't just it just vomits cards at you every time you play. You have to play certain characters, you have to do certain things. I'm working on putting some, not obstacles, but just other things besides players on the map, so maybe some of them are interactable. It all depends. There's so much testing that has to be done at every stage of this thing. That I can't necessarily say I should have cover fired, then I'd still be standing. But that's why I'm casting the date out, because what I want it to be is I want to be comfortably done. I want to be playing it comfortably and then be oh yeah, fix that. And then playing it comfortably and be oh yeah, fix that. Then I'll be it's ready. The way it is now, where every time I play it, I see a thing that's oh, I gotta fix that. Oh, I gotta fix that. That's not ready, and I'm not gonna get there. I've been playing Supermarket Simulator, and I see the infection, what it does to your brain. Anyway, yeah, I think because it's running this way, I'm not gonna play it. I wanted to shoot a trailer. I was I'm gonna have the footage run while I do the Stop Killing Games thing, and then I'll just take the footage of that and turn it into a trailer, and then the game decided to run at what looks like 15 frames per second. So that's not gonna be a thing. But see, look at the backgrounds. I did that. I mean, I didn't do it, but I found that back. You don't know what game that background's from? I do. Shout out to Fightabase, but yeah, that's background from a super old SNK game. Anyway, the point is, every card, gonna have its own distinct background, or I should say let's put it that way, can have its own distinct background. So when you do the battles between the cards, when they actually clash, the game pays attention to which cards are involved, and it plays their background. I'm gonna do the effects. I'm gonna do all that stuff too. Trust me, everything is good. Well, everything I can get. Honestly, if you have any resources from Card Fighters Clash Expanded Edition, or if you're just willing to rip some, and I mean anything, character graphics, fonts, window graphic dressings, map stuff, anything at all, shoot it, hit me up, drop me a comment, send me an email. get on my Discord. Let's talk about it. That is the game in the series that has the least presence on the internet. You can find the cards to death. People love the artwork on the cards, but actual anything else from the game has been relegated to so few screenshots. This is why, again, I jumped on remaking it. Anyway, I have been talking for a very long time, and I want to play some video games. So, shoutouts to you for... I'm sorry, Prince of Persia fans. It'll be back next week. But I had to talk about some important stuff today. Shoutouts to... Please hit the like button, because I would like... this is activism. I need this to get out of here. I mean, CFC, great. But the Stop Killing Game stuff, very important. And there's a time limit on it. It expires end of the month. And we're trying to win. So, please, if you're in the UU, look into Stop Killing Games. Look into it. Pay attention to it. Learn about it. And then sign, please. Everybody else, get hyped for CFC. Come on by my Discord. Come on by Fight a Base. We're going to have a blast. It's going to be great. The beta, we're going to have multiplayer. That's the goal. This is going to be all single player. The beta, I'm going to do multiplayer. That's why it doesn't have a date. I'm going to do Fight a Base, and I'm going to come back and wrap up multiplayer. If I finish all the cards before then, I will probably release it before multiplayer is done, and multiplayer will be like a 1.0 thing. Like, I'll probably do a release that's like, and all the cards are done. But I don't anticipate that's how it's going to work. I anticipate it's probably going to take so much work to actually do multiplayer, I still won't be done with all the cards, and that will be 1.0. But, like for more updates on CFC, leave me a comment if you have thoughts, if you have opinions, if you have whatever. And as always, like flibbity flobbity floop. Which window? Oh, right.